Good morning, almost afternoon. Welcome to the November edition of the District 204 webinar. My name is Brian Waterman. I'm proud to serve as a superintendent here in LT District 204. We just started our 13th week of the school year, and Thanksgiving is only a week away, which is really amazing. So I'm excited to host our third webinar here today. Again, the goal is to use just a different, hopefully more interactive format than a traditional email to share some information and some exciting news around Lyons Township High School District 204. So thanks for joining us today. We have so much happening on a daily basis here, and we're always excited to share that with our community. So as always, if you're joining live, feel free to drop some questions in the Q&A. And of course, if you're watching this recording later on, never hesitate to shoot me an email at bwaterman@lths.net. So let's get started with what's happening here in November. Today is School Board Member Appreciation Day. And this just really serves as an occasion to build community awareness and understanding about the vital and essential role that volunteer school board members play in education. They provide a local voice for community education decisions and really provide outstanding governance and leadership for our school community. So we're fortunate to have a 7-member Board of Education here in District 204. They work tirelessly in support of our school community, and I want to wish them a School Board Members Appreciation Day, and I hope our community does that as well, because we're very fortunate to have them guiding our school district. So thank you again to the District 204 Board of Education. Last year, Lyons Township High School hosted our first Pack for Impact event to help combat global hunger. We partnered with Feed My Starving Children out in Aurora to bring a mobile packing station to our campus. It actually happened to South Campus on the Dr. King holiday in January to honor the National Day of Service. We had over 500 volunteers pack 100,000 meals that were distributed to those experiencing hunger around the world. So this year, on January 20th of 2024, our students and staff are going to have the opportunity to go out to the Feed My Starving Children Center to once again Pack for Impact. So we want to continue to follow that legacy of Dr. King and his belief that everybody can be great because everybody has the opportunity to serve. So we want to, again, this year do that. And so we're already planning for the return of the larger mobile packing and impact event here on campus a year from now, which will return to South Campus in 2025. So we are looking for donations to help support this year's event as well as next year's event. Your donation will be used to support our current smaller packing event, as well as our $25,000 fundraising goal to support this larger school-wide event for next year. So if you check out the QR code on the screen, it will take you to a website where you can learn more about Pack for Impact, about the work that our school community does on Martin Luther King Day. And it will also allow you the opportunity to donate as well. So all the information you need is there on your screen. I want to also continue to highlight our community conversation series at LT. We've already had 2 this school year, and our third event will actually happen later tonight and is going to feature Youth Outlook and will include a really important conversation about how we're supporting our LGBTQ+ youth here at LT. Tonight's event is going to be hosted at 6 p.m. in the South Campus Library, and we hope to see a lot of our community there for this important conversation. I also want to continue to highlight the LT Community Advisory Council. We just hosted our second LTCAC meeting of the school year a couple weeks ago on November 1st, and the topic of discussion was associate school collaborations. We're fortunate to partner with 6 feeder schools plus a special education cooperative, and we were able to share really some exciting things that we're doing to partner with all of our associate schools. And more importantly, we were able to get feedback from our community on all that we're doing and really generate some good ideas on what we can do even further. That QR code on the screen, again, will take you directly to the LTCAC website. You can do a couple things there. You can view all the materials related to our first 2 meetings, including slide deck. You can review all the raw data that was collected from the community input. And then you could also sign up to be a member of LTCAC. We are always, always, always looking for more community members to be a part of this group. And so we would love to have your participation. Again, click the QR code and sign up. So really, the heart of today's webinar is really focused on our annual assessment report. And so I want to start by saying that our students continue to achieve at high levels academically. And this is such a testament to our students, to our staff, to our parent guardians, and to our entire school community for all the efforts that go into helping our students become the best versions of themselves. And so all of the data that we've recently collected from last year on our assessment report really is a reflection of all those efforts. So today, I'm going to share an overview of our annual assessment data, which includes some highlights and also some areas of focus. But for those of you who really want to dive in and look at the detail, there's a couple QR codes on the screen. So my goal today is to spend, maybe just a few minutes kind of sharing the important data. But those two QR codes really do two things. The first one is the November 6th Board of Education Committee of the Whole meeting. That includes approximately a 2.5-hour discussion on all of the assessment data that I'm going to just spend a few minutes here highlighting today. The second one is more information about the Illinois School Report Card and Equity Journey Continuum. And you can dive into that as well, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later. So just to kind of begin, every spring, students in the state of Illinois are required to take a variety of assessments, and all the data from last spring's assessment is what I'm going to be talking about today. And it's also what is included within the Illinois School Report Card. Reading and mathematics in Illinois are assessed through the SAT suite of assessments. And as a side note, the SAT data performance is really represented significantly in our strategic plan Goal 1 scorecard, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. All juniors also complete the Illinois Science Assessment, which measures science achievement. Students with severe cognitive disabilities take the Dynamic Learning Maps alternate assessment instead of the SAT, and also the Illinois Science Assessment. And then students who qualify for English Learner Services and Supports complete a separate exam as well, called Access for ELLs. And so ISB requires schools assess 95% of students in English, in math, and in science each year. And at LT, we met those participation requirements for the 22-23 school year. The SAT suite of assessments includes that PSAT grade 8-9. It also includes the PSAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, and then also the PSAT 10, and then also the SAT that all of our juniors take. It's also important to note that SAT is a graduation requirement in Illinois high schools, and so students who do not complete that assessment during 11th grade need to take the assessment during the spring of their senior year as well. So College Board considers students college and career ready when SAT section scores meet math and reading and writing benchmarks. College Board defines college and career ready as students with a 75% chance of earning at least a C in a first semester credit-bearing college course in algebra and statistics, pre-calc or calculus for mathematics, and then in history, in literature, in social science, in writing, classes for evidence-based reading and writing. The chart on this slide illustrates the percentage of students that meet College Board's college and career benchmarks in evidence-based reading and writing, as well as math during the spring of 2023. So all three SAT suite assessments are depicted on this chart side by side. College Board also has one set of benchmarks that measure a student's likelihood of achieving a C or higher in a college level course. In the state of Illinois, for accountability purposes, we have our own performance standards to measure student achievement on the spring SAT. And these levels also measure a student's mastery of the Illinois learning standards. And the performance standards really help educators understand if a student has partially met, has approached, has met, or has exceeded the content standards for English and math. These College Board benchmarks and the Illinois performance levels utilize the same assessment data to tell two different stories. And as such, the cut scores associated with proficiency are really different depending on the benchmark or the performance level that you're utilizing. So this chart on this screen demonstrates the percentage of students in each of the 4 Illinois performance levels in both evidence-based reading and writing, as well as mathematics also. The percentage of students earning a level 1 has decreased in both reading and writing and in math when compared to the spring of 2022 data. So moving along, this chart depicts the Illinois performance levels as well. Each bar represents the percentage of students meeting proficiency, either levels 3 or 4 on the reading and writing of the spring SAT over the last 6 years. The bars on the left represent our student performance, and then the second set of bars represent the performance at the state level. So both LT and the state, we're fortunate to see an increase in the percentage of students earning a level 3 or 4 this year, and LT continues to outperform the state in this area. The next chart represents the percentage of students at LT and the state who met proficiency expectations on the math portion of the SAT. When we look at national data, it's become pretty clear that mathematics instruction and student performance in mathematics was impacted more by the COVID-19 pandemic than any other content area, and that it is going to take mathematic achievement longer to recover from the pandemic. With that said, students at LT continue to outperform their peers across the state, and we saw a 1% increase in the percentage of students that are proficient on the math assessment in the spring of 2023. It's important to recognize that content and proficiency percentages really vary among student groups. This chart shows the percentage of students proficient, again, earning that level 3 or 4 on the spring SAT by student group. The light bar represents English language arts proficiency in the spring of 2022, and then the darker bar represents English language arts proficiency in the spring of 2023. I think the most important takeaway here is that at LT, we saw an increase in student proficiency across every single student group when we compared the spring 2022 assessment to the spring 2023 assessment. Our next piece of data here, this chart shows the percentage of students that are proficient, again, earning a level 3 or 4 on the spring SAT by student group for mathematics. Again, the light bar represents math proficiency in the spring of 22, and the darker bar represents math proficiency in the spring of 2023. We've either seen some stability or an increase when comparing math proficiency on the spring 22 assessment to the spring 23 assessment. So let's kind of take an overall look now then at our standardized assessment report. When we look at it globally, we really have so many reasons to be proud. This slide highlights a few celebrations based upon the data that we just presented. Most notably, over 76% of our students in the class of 2024 met College Board readiness benchmarks in ELA, and 61% met the College Board benchmark in mathematics. And certainly, while achievement gaps still exist between our traditionally unsupported student groups and traditionally supported student groups, we did see a greater percentage of students meeting the evidence-based reading and writing proficiency as measured by ISB in the spring of 23 than 1 year prior in the spring of 2022. Also in math, all of our student groups had an equal or greater percentage of students achieving proficiency on that 2023 spring SAT. And so then the final highlight is we saw an increase in the percentage of students demonstrating proficiency on the Illinois Science Assessment, with over 80% of our students scoring a 3 or a 4. So we really see that as a highlight and a celebration. We also know that our work is never done. When it comes to really cultivating that continuous improvement culture, we always have work to do. And so while we continue to outperform other schools in the state of Illinois, we also continue to have achievement gaps in standardized assessment data. And also as a school community, we must continue to find ways to close those gaps. When we dig a little deeper, we also learned that the class of 2025 had a smaller percentage of students meet the college and career benchmarks in math than the class of 2024 and the class of 2026. And then also we recognize that our access proficiency remains low, and we're confident that our recent significant changes within our bilingual programming will hopefully lead to improved outcomes for students. So that, in a really quick nutshell, is the overview of our standardized assessment report. Let's transition to our advanced placement performance. Advanced placement programming here at LT has been a really historical success for our school community, and last year was no different. This chart, the number of students who took at least one AP test reached a new high at LT during the spring of 2023. We've never had so many students take an AP exam as we did in spring of 2023, which is a celebration. Also, not only are more students taking at least one AP exam, we have 82% of our students who completed at least one AP exam received a score high enough for credit at any public in-state university, which is a really good opportunity for students. We also saw an increase in the number of total exams administered last year. Within the exams that we administered, disparities do exist among our student groups. 11% of AP exams were administered to our Hispanic Latinx students, 4% to our Asian students, 1% to our African American students, 78% to our white students, and 3% to students who identify as two or more races. This access to AP coursework is something that we want to continue to focus on and get better at. This next advanced placement chart looks at the percentage of exams that earned a passing score, which is a 3 or higher on the assessment on each exam. We had, out of the 2,495 exams that were administered last spring, 82% of those exams resulted in a score of 3 or higher. So really a positive celebration for LT. So now just a couple of observations on our advanced placement. So we've been committed to increasing participation from under-supported groups in AP courses. And what we've learned is not only are more students being challenged with that coursework, they're being successful, as the percentage of our passing scores still remains really high at 82%. So we've covered our standardized assessment report. We've covered our advanced placement report. Now I just want to spend a minute talking about the Illinois School Report Card and Equity Journey Continuum. So, as a reminder, the Illinois School Report Card is the state's official source for information regarding public schools in Illinois. And that latest version of the Illinois School Report Card was made publicly available to our community and to the public throughout the state a few weeks ago on October 30th. This involves reporting on each school's summative designation, which is really a score based on a school's overall data for all of the accountability indicators as set forth by the state. The data, all the data that goes into the Illinois School Report Card is derived from last school year, the 22-23 school year. LT once again achieved a commendable rating on the Illinois School Report Card. We have received a commendable designation for each year in our school's history. So we again received that commendable rating. And as just another reminder, a school's summative designation is made up of 75% academic indicators and 25% school quality and student success indicators. Another really important part of the Illinois School Report Card is the Equity Journey Continuum, which was new a year ago. So during the fall of 2022, the State Board of Education released Equity Journey Continuum data for each school as well. This is simply an informational tool to help districts view their data through a lens of equity. It identifies gaps in student achievement, opportunities and supports by analyzing data that districts are already collecting and reporting to ISB. So again, this is the second year of inclusion of the Equity Journey Continuum on the report card. And really, it helps us track progress toward closing gaps in student achievement and in opportunities as well. This year, the Equity Journey Continuum data is actually derived from 2 school years ago. So all of the ratings and the accountability indicators on the Equity Journey Continuum tool utilize data from the 21-22 school year, which is a couple years ago. And it's important to note that because that's not the same data that was presented at the beginning of this, at the beginning of the webinar. So all of this year's assessment data and report card data will be reflected on next year's equity journey continuum. But just a couple more things to highlight. Within the equity journey continuum, it identified large gaps in student learning here at LT. It identified moderate gaps in learning conditions, and it identified small gaps in elevating educators. And so that's clearly something that we need to continue to emphasize and focus on to get better. We know that, and we have a really good plan in place to make that happen. Overall, just some highlights from our report card and equity journey continuum. Having a combined graduation rate of over 95% is really positive. Having a 9th grade on track rate of 96% is really, really a positive. And then having 80% of our students demonstrating proficiency in science, we really see that as a celebration as well. So that was a lot. And it really was meant to just provide a brief overview of so much data and detail. Clearly, it included our standardized assessment report, our advanced placement participation and performance, the Illinois School Report Card, and equity journey continuum data as well. I would encourage anyone who wants to dive even deeper on this data. Again, there's a couple of ways you can do that. There's 2 QR codes on your screen. The first one is a recording of the November 6th board meeting. That was about a 2.5-hour discussion on all of this data. And then also that second QR code will take you to our website, where you can also click on some links and really, again, dive into the Illinois School Report Card and the equity journey continuum data as well. So in addition, all of this is so important in our recently adopted long-term strategic plan. So we know that we are in year 2 of living our community strategic plan. It was adopted in June of 2022. We actually recently launched an interactive scorecard that will allow our community to track the progress that we're making toward our long-term objectives. So I would invite those who want to look at even more data and information, please click the QR code on the screen. That will take you to our new interactive scorecard, which actually includes about 5 years worth of historical data on each of the metrics that we have identified on our strategic plan scorecard. So that was a lot to cover on today's webinar, but again, it's timely because just a couple weeks ago, all this information was made public throughout the state of Illinois. So I wanted to just share an overview and some highlights from here at LT. And again, I can't stress enough how much we have to celebrate. Our students continue to achieve at high levels academically. We're super proud of them, and we know that that is a collective community effort from students, staff, parent guardians, and extended school community to really make that happen and to continue the success that we've had historically. So we're really proud of that. With that, I'm going to check to see if we have any questions in the Q&A. Give everyone just a minute. And again, if you're watching this recording after the fact, please don't ever hesitate to email me at bwaterman@lths.net. And so I will end the November webinar with this. Our next lunchtime webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, December 13th. That will be at 11:30 a.m. as well. And I anticipate sharing some updates on our upcoming facilities projects, which we've kind of shared in bits and pieces throughout the last several months. But I look forward to spending some time on the December webinar to talk more about our facilities renovations. So with that, I want to thank everyone for joining or watching after the fact. I want to wish the entire LT community an outstanding Thanksgiving Day weekend. Thank you so much for all the support that you provide our students and staff, and we hope you have a happy Thanksgiving weekend. Take care.